All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about one of the biggest regulatory shifts to hit Europe in years, the new Anti-Money Laundering Regulation, or AMLR. Now, if you're in finance, fintech, crypto, really any regulated business in the EU, this is something you absolutely need to understand. It's going to change how you operate, so let's make sure you're ready.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll unpack what this new single rule book for Europe is all about. Then, we'll get into the really practical stuff, how identity verification is being completely reimagined. From there, we'll dig into the big changes for customer due diligence. And, of course, we'll give you a clear roadmap to get ready for 2027. Finally, we'll wrap up by looking at how you can build a flexible system for the future. Sound good? Let's get started.
You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. For years, trying to manage AML compliance across Europe felt, well, fragmented. Think about it. The EU would issue a directive, and then all 27 member states would go off and interpret it in their own way. What you ended up with was this messy regulatory patchwork. And who loves a patchwork with lots of holes? Criminals. They could easily find and exploit the loopholes between different countries' rules. AMLR is here to change all of that. So let's kick things off with the biggest change of all, moving away from that patchwork and creating one single standard for everyone. This really lays out the before and after picture perfectly. On one side, you had the old way, directives that spawned 27 different sets of rules. It was complicated. Now with AMLR, we get a single harmonized regulation, and this is the key part. It's not just a suggestion. It's a single rulebook that applies directly in every single EU country, no translation needed. For your business, that means way less ambiguity, less complexity, and a much more level playing field. And make no mistake, this isn't some far-off future plan. It's happening right now. The new central authority, AMLA, that's the Anti-Money Laundering Authority, is already up and running as of 2025. They're busy right now hammering out all the technical details. But here's the date you need to circle on your calendar in big, bold letters. 2027. That's when AMLR becomes the law of the land, and your business has to be compliant. No excuses. And by 2028, AMLR will be directly supervising the highest risk firms. So yeah, the clock is definitely ticking.
Okay, so that's the high-level view, but let's bring this down to earth. What does this new rulebook actually mean for your day-to-day operations? Well, one of the biggest impacts is on something you do all the time: verifying a customer's identity. And this leads to a huge question, probably one that's on your mind right now. You've likely spent a lot of time and money building out your systems for scanning IDs and doing biometric checks. So with all this buzz about digital wallets and EIDs, are those investments suddenly obsolete? The short answer is a definite no. But your strategy does need to evolve. What AMLR does, working hand in hand with the EU's big digital identity push, is create a kind of new pecking order for verification. The top preference, the new gold standard, will be things like European digital identity wallets and other official electronic IDs. Then you've got other certified services. But, and this is so important, look at that last step. Document-based ID is specifically called out as an essential fallback. It's not disappearing, not by a long shot. Its role is just becoming part of a bigger, smarter system. So let's zoom in on that EUDI wallet for a second. Think of it as a secure app on your phone that holds your government-approved, pre-verified identity. So when a customer needs to sign up for your service, instead of fiddling with their passport and taking a selfie, they can just tap. They can securely share just the information you need, like their name and that they're over 18, directly from the wallet. It's faster, it's more secure, and let's be honest, it's a much smoother experience for them, which is great for your conversion rates. But, and this is a really big but, you can't just throw out everything else and go all in on digital wallets tomorrow. Let's be realistic. Not everyone is going to adopt these new wallets overnight. There's going to be a transition period, and some people might never use them. Plus, the core idea of a risk-based approach hasn't gone away. You still need flexibility. That's why your current document verification systems are so critical. They're your safety net. They are the essential foundation of this new hybrid world.
All right, so we've talked a lot about that initial identity check. But let's zoom out a bit and look at the whole picture of customer due diligence, or CDD. This is where things like KYC and KYB come into play.
So you've got KYC, know your customer, for individuals, and KYB, know your business, for corporate entities. In the past, people sometimes thought of them differently. What AMLR does is say, look, fraudsters are getting smarter and more sophisticated everywhere. So whether you're dealing with an individual or a complex company, you need a dynamic, ongoing approach to monitoring them. And a huge piece of that KYB puzzle is UBO verification. UBO stands for Ultimate Beneficial Owner. It's all about answering the question, who is really behind this company? It's like peeling back the layers of an onion to find the actual people pulling the strings. Criminals are masters at hiding behind webs of shell companies, and AMLR is really doubling down on the rules to make sure you can cut through that complexity.
Now, speaking of working together, there's a part of the AMLR called Article 75, and it's a real game changer. It basically gives a green light for regulated institutions to securely share information with each other. The idea is to create a united front against financial crime. It means less hassle for legitimate customers who won't have to do KYC checks over and over again, and it makes it much easier for the good guys to spot suspicious patterns across the entire financial system. So if there's one big takeaway here, it's this. Customer due diligence is no longer a one-and-done task you check off during onboarding. AMLR really cements the idea that it's a continuous, living process. It's about maintaining an up-to-date understanding of your customers, refreshing their info based on their risk profile over time. It's a relationship, not just a single transaction. Okay, I know, this can sound like a mountain of work, but the 2027 deadline is absolutely doable if you start planning now. So let's break it down into a clear, actionable roadmap for you. All right, here are 4 concrete steps you can take back to your team starting today. First, a gap analysis. Where do your current policies stand against the new single rulebook? You need to know where the holes are. Second, your tech. Is your platform ready for this hybrid world? Can it handle EIDs and still provide rock-solid document verification? Third, people. Are your teams trained on all these new CDD and UBO requirements? And finally, your systems. Are you actually ready for the data sharing and reporting that's coming? These are the questions you need to be asking right now. Which brings us to our final point. How do you take all of this change and turn it from a compliance headache into a genuine strategic advantage? Because at the end of the day, adopting to AMLR isn't just about bolting on a new feature here or there. It's about having a foundational platform that's built for flexibility, one that can seamlessly handle this new, complex mix of digital wallets, EIDs, and yes, traditional documents all at once. And when you have that kind of flexibility, it opens up a lot of doors. You can easily integrate new wallet and EID technologies as they roll out. You can rest easy knowing your document verification fallback is solid. You'll have ironclad, auditable proof of compliance that regulators are going to love. You can fine-tune the customer experience to keep conversion rates high no matter how someone verifies their identity. And you're not just stuck in the EU. You have the tools for global coverage because business rarely stops at the border. Look, we get it. This kind of regulatory shift can feel daunting. But the good news is you don't have to figure it all out on your own. Successfully navigating this new world really comes down to having the right partners. Partners who deeply understand both the regulations and the technology you need to succeed. So, I'll leave you with this one question to think about. This shift to AMLR, it's not just another tick box exercise. It is a complete transformation of how the EU fights financial crime. 2027 is coming up faster than you think. The real question is your business ready? We hope this is giving you a clearer view of the road ahead. Thanks for watching.